Hello there and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Al24 News, streaming live from the capital Algiers. And coming up next in our news program, Russian missile strike has killed 8 people and wounded 18 others in Ukraine's Black Sea city of Odessa on Saturday. France began voting in a presidential runoff election on Sunday, with incumbent Emmanuel Macron facing his rival Marine Le Pen. Six dead, 45 rescued as migrant boat capsized off Lebanon, and several people remain missing till now. Hello again and welcome. Those were today's headline. According to Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, a Russian missile attack on Ukraine's Black Sea city of Odessa killed 8 people and injured 18 others. Andrew Yarmak, President Zelensky's chief of staff, said that missiles slammed into residential buildings. He added that more deaths and casualties are possible.
Among those killed was a 3-month-old baby. How did she threaten Russia? It seems that killing children is a new national idea of Russian Federation. Russia has already fired most of its missile arsenal at Ukraine. Of course, they still have missiles. Of course, they can still pursue missiles terror against our people. But what they have already done is certainly enough for the world to finally recognize the Russian state as a sponsor of terrorism and the Russian military as a terrorist organization.
The Russian army claims to have targeted with high-precision missiles a large depot of weapons delivered to Ukrainian forces by the United States and European countries near Odessa in southern Ukraine.
The Russian forces today put out of service, with high precision and long-range missiles, a logistics terminal at the military airfield near Odessa, where a large batch of foreign weapons delivered by the States was stored by the United States and the European countries.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky denounces the illogical decision of UN Security General Antonio Guterres to visit Moscow on Tuesday, 2 days before going to Kiev.
I think it's a mistake to visit Russia first, and then Ukraine. This is simply wrong. For what? To hand over a message from Russia?
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky stated on Saturday that top US officials are preparing to head to Kiev for talks concerning Ukraine's call for more powerful and heavier weaponry after 2 months since the start of this military operation in Ukraine. US Secretary of State Antony Blinken and Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin will be in Kiev for the talks with the Ukrainian president, who considered the visit as the highest level.
It's not a big secret, although I don't know if it's still public. Tomorrow, American officials will come to our house. I will meet with the Minister of Defense and Antony Blinken. We're waiting for the security conditions to allow the President of the United States to come and support the Ukrainian nation.
Russia's top state investigative body said on Saturday it was looking into a Russian media report alleging that sabotage experts from British SAS Special Forces have been deployed to western Ukraine. Russia's RI Novosti news agency on Saturday quoted Russian security sources as saying about 20 SAS members had been sent to the Lviv region. In a statement, the investigative committee said it would follow up the report that they had been sent in to assist the Ukraine Special Service in organizing sabotage on the territory of Ukraine. A spokesperson for the British Ministry of Defense said, "We do not comment on the special forces." Rafael Grossi, the IAEA Director General, said on Saturday that Ukraine has asked for a comprehensive list of equipment in order to operate nuclear power plants during its war with Russia. The equipment includes radiation measurement devices, protective material, computer-related assistance, power supply systems, and diesel generators.
We will coordinate the implementation of the assistance that the International Atomic Energy Agency and its member states will provide, including by delivering required equipment directly to Ukraine's nuclear site. The needs are great, and I'm very grateful for the considerable support that our member states have already indicated they will make available.
To a different matter now, France will vote on April 24th whether to give President Emmanuel Macron a second five-year term or entrust the presidency to his right-wing challenger Marine Le Pen. The race is a repeat of the 2017 election in which Macron decisively defeated Le Pen with 66% of the vote, the latest polling point to a far narrower outcome in this election. More about this with Osama Ayadi.
Polls have opened in French presidential election runoff that is being closely followed around the globe for its potential to redefine France's position in the Western world, the country's approach to immigration, and Europe's relationship with Russia. The last poll average on Friday before the election blackout period showed incumbent President Emmanuel Macron 10 percentage points ahead. A win by far-right challenger Marine Le Pen appears unlikely, though still possible. Among the sources of uncertainty, a Macron victory would mark a rare re-election for an incumbent in a country where voters are known to be unforgiving for their leaders. There is not nearly the same level of enthusiasm for him as when he first ran in 2017, launching his own centrist political movement and becoming France's youngest president. A runoff win by Le Pen would put an entire immigrant populace in charge of the European Union's second biggest economy and its only nuclear power. It would replace a fervent defender of the EU with a long-time critic of the bloc. Le Pen's past admiration for Russian President Vladimir Putin and her recent calls for reconciliation between NATO and Russia have also prompted concerns that a far-right victory would empower a leader who shares Putin's worldview and who could become a key obstacle to Western support for Ukraine. Most of the candidates who failed to qualify for the second round beseeched their supporters not to vote for Le Pen. Her hopes now largely rest on the potential for high abstention rates among voters who lean toward Macron.
Slovenians went to the polls on Sunday in parliamentary election, pitting Conservative Prime Minister Yanis Janša against Roberto Kulob, a US-educated former business executive heading the newly formed Green Liberal Freedom Movement. The opposition has cast the vote as a referendum on democracy. During a visit to US aircraft carrier patrolling Asian waters on Saturday, Japan's foreign minister stated that his country will strengthen its military to assist the US in maintaining regional stability. Islam Sid.
During a visit to US aircraft carrier patrolling Asian seas on Saturday, Japan's foreign minister stated that his country will strengthen its military to assist the US in maintaining regional stability.
Japan will start significantly strengthen its defense capabilities and continue to work closely with the United States in order to further strengthen deterrence and coping capabilities of Japan-US alliance.
Hayashi's remarks came amid Japan's worry that Russia and Ukraine conflict may encourage neighboring China to use military force to seize control of Taiwan and threaten surrounding Japanese islands. Japan has also voiced alarm over Beijing strengthening security relations with Moscow, including joint drills in Japanese seas, despite China's assertion that its aims in Asia are peaceful. Hayashi traveled out to the aircraft carrier with the US Ambassador Rahm Emanuel, who warned that Russia's special operation in Ukraine presented security dangers in places well beyond Europe, including the Indo-Pacific.
Aggressors in the region are acting in bad faith and threatening peace and stability, as well as the values we, the United States and Japan, hold dear. They are trying to rule through the exercise of raw power, to impose their will and subjugate the region to the dictates of a single individual. We are uniting like never before with our partners and allies around the globe to speak out against war and stand up for peace.
The two were watching carrier air operations from the deck of the Lincoln, which had just departed from the Sea of Japan, close to the Korean Peninsula, where it had participated in naval maneuvers with Japan's Maritime Self-Defense Force in response to North Korea's last missile launch.
Thousands of people demonstrated on Saturday to protest the planned disappearance of a village due to the extension of a coal mine. at a time when Germany could rely more on this or to reduce its dependence on Russian gas. Miriam Zian has more to clarify.
Thousands demonstrated on Saturday in Lützerath, western Germany, to protest against the extension of a coal mine that threatens the village with extinction.
We are here today to stand in solidarity with the most affected by the climate crisis and those suffering from the climate war.
The demonstrators were only a few hundred meters from the gigantic open-pit mine of Garzweiler, one of the largest in the world, regularly targeted by environmental activists.
We are in Lützerath because we have to say stop. We cannot continue to burn coal. The climate catastrophe is already there, and we have to give up coal right now. That's the way it is, and not the way it is.
This village, like others, has long been condemned to disappear in order to allow the mine to expand further and ensure the production of electricity. Lützerath has emerged as a focal point for Germany's environmental movement, and activists are preparing themselves for a confrontation with the police in the region. Since the beginning of the Russian-Ukrainian conflict, the debate on coal has been revived in the dependent country on Russian gas. To ensure the supply of energy while reducing its reliance on Russian gas, the German government allowed itself the option to delay the closure of some coal-fired power plants in order to replace Russian gas at the end of March, while maintaining the goal of phasing out coal by 2030.
Thousands of tractor drivers and farmers took the streets on Saturday as they showed their refusal to country's economic system, which is seeing many changes. The country's economy ministry stated lately that taxes and prices on imported goods would reach higher degree and quantities would be limited following strict procedures.
Argentinian rural producers took to the streets on Saturday to show their refusal of the government's last declared intention of raising prices and taxes on exports and against economic policy in general.
It's very difficult, and unfortunately we can't take advantage of international prices and everything we have in production to continue supporting the country.
Armed with flags, Argentina anti-government posters, producers and workers chanted slogans against the country's measures and the attempt to eradicate economic inflation, which did not show any results as food is up 7.8% last month and the annual inflation rate is 50%. Hundreds of people on foot not directly connected to the camp joined the protest that brought together thousands of people. Producers are complaining about current export taxes, government threats to halt exports of some products, such as wheat and meat, to fight domestic inflation and guarantee supply from the local market and double exchange rate. In fact, Argentina currently has 7 different quotations for the dollar, and whoever wants to import and export must deal with the official quotation, while prices rise in parallel. In addition, it represents 170 different taxes on the most diversified production activities associated with exports.
Taxes are ours, it's our production, and he wastes them, because we don't profit from what he steals from us, because taxes are our profit, and we don't see no benefit either for the people or for anyone. So we want them to let us produce.
In his last speech, President Alberto Fernandez said the country was at war against inflation. In practice, protectionist policies that were not able to contain prices increased. The last straw of protest came in recent days when the government increased export duties on soy flour and oil by 2 percentage points, equaling 33% of the rate paid for grain.
Senegalese health workers went on a strike to protest accusations against 6 midwives suspected of carelessness in the death that aroused widespread outrage. The National Association of Midwives and numerous other healthcare organizations said that they will join a 1 to 3 day work stoppage. The death of 9 months pregnant lady called Astou Sokna at a public hospital in the northern town of Louga triggered the incident. At an illegal oil processing plant in Nigeria's River State killed more than 100 people overnight. according to a local government official and the environmental group. The State Commissioner for Petroleum Resources said that 100 people were burned beyond recognition. The Lebanese army closed the port of Tripoli, allowing entry only to ambulances shuttling out the sinking of a boat carrying around 60 migrants off the coast of Lebanon, where deadly sea crossings are increasing due to the of economic crisis.
My nephew has 5 children, and his wife is pregnant with twins. Why did he flee? He fled because of hunger, poverty, and misery. He fled because of lack of food, electricity, water, and a decent life. It is our deputies who are at the origin of this situation.
At least 12 people have died and another 10 were missing after 4 boats carrying 120 African migrants and refugees sank off Tunisia as they tried to cross the Mediterranean to Italy. The coastline of Sfax has become a major departure point for people fleeing conflicts and poverty in Africa and the Middle East and seeking a better life in Europe. A boat carrying 47 barrels of diesel fuel sank on Saturday off one of the Gold Passes archipelago, an ecologically sensitive region of Ecuador. However, local officials said that the damage is minor and no one was injured. A Japanese Coast Guard announced that 7 men and 3 women have died, while 16 others went missing as a tourist boat sank in the icy water of the northern Japan on Saturday. Authorities said that the search continues for any survivors. Residents of a closed complex are waiting for a COVID test as Shanghai records 39 COVID deaths on Sunday, its highest daily toll despite weeks of lockdown. The world's second largest economy has been struggling to stamp out its worst outbreak in 2 years, with the playbook of harsh lockdowns and mass testing as it sticks to a strict zero-COVID policy, taking heavy toll on businesses and public morale.
The pandemic data published in recent days show that the current situation in Shanghai remains difficult and complex. The number of confirmed new infections, mainly in closed management areas, restrictive control areas, and centralized quarantine sites, is large and always fluctuating at a high level.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's have a reminder for our main top stories. Russian missile strike had killed 8 people and wounded 18 others in Ukraine's Black Sea city of Odessa on Saturday. France began voting in a presidential runoff election on Sunday, with the incumbent Emmanuel Macron facing his rival Marine Le Pen. Six dead and 45 rescued as migrant boat capsized off Lebanon, and several people remain missing till now. That's all we have got so far for now. Take care of yourself and bye-bye.